Anyway.
Not to say these are your class. I'm just pointing out, please don't take this out on our buddy Chad. He is not the host of the show. You are here for a very specific mission and point.
Yes, direct your angry letters and comments to Mr. Clary here.
And if you didn't like what I said, I'm not joking. My email is aaron.clary@asshole, emphasis on asshole, consulting.com. Speaking of assholeconsulting.com, we have a question.
Great
for
segue.
For the older brother podcast. Thank you. I was a professional radio show host at one time. And this is one that I wanted you to field because like last night when I had Rolo on, it was about marriage and weddings and stuff, things I've never gone through. And this was a little bit out of my league, so let me go ahead and read it for our audience. Dear Aaron, please keep me anonymous. I would like a video response, and due to the nature of this request, if you would prefer to wait until the Elkins podcast, that would be fine. I've been working on building a blog and want to set up an LLC. Nothing illegal or controversial, but due to reasons, I want to keep myself as anonymous as possible. So I've been...
Aaron, I'm going to interrupt. I think Alex just popped in. So,
oh, did he? That's all right. We'll introduce him. He's on. He's our special guest for the show. Actually, if Alex wants to chime in on this one, we'll let Chad field it first. And then Alex can be the special guest celebrity asshole consultant. I've been working on building a blog and want to set up an LLC. Nothing illegal or controversial, but due to reasons, I want to keep myself as anonymous as possible. So I've been researching how to form an anonymous LLC. I have narrowed the states down to Wyoming, Delaware, or New Mexico. Each have their own benefits and drawbacks. I've been leaning towards choosing New Mexico since it is fully anonymous, but I have a few questions for which I cannot seem to find a good answer. I'm hoping you can help me out. 1, New Mexico has a state income tax on money made in New Mexico. Would a blog qualify as money made in New Mexico if I live in another state and no servers or equipment is located in the state of New Mexico? Let's go ahead and field that one first.
No. He wouldn't have nexus in New Mexico if he's not actually earning any money there. I mean, he can have an LLC there, but that's not where the money's earned. So there's no state income taxes due to New Mexico on that one.
What for the benefit, because we got a lot of young men and women that want to become entrepreneurs, and they're almost pretty much going to be guaranteed to default to an LLC, at least for the first business. Can you kind of explain, not the legal liability or anything like that, but in terms of taxes, what an LLC is? Like, you can have an LLC in pretty much any state, but the concept of a nexus, kind of explain that so they understand why you can go ahead and have an LLC in a foreign state that you personally do not reside in.
Well, some people do this because there's less fees and paperwork in certain states compared to other states. He's got a few questions here. I saw some of the others, and I don't think it's a really good idea to do that, but having nexus means that you actually earn income and have to pay taxes in that state. So you can have an LLC in any state, but it doesn't mean that, you're actually supposed to file a tax return in that state. Does that answer the question? Or
yeah, no, I'm just, because this is something that confused me not all too long ago. You're basically just trying, when you figure out what state you want to set up an LLC in, it's by state, and then the laws governing that LLC, which really have nothing to do with tax. The reason I was kind of zeroing in on this question there, Chad, is not to be bored, but just so people understand when they're going forward. You're basically looking for legal protection, ease of setting up an LLC, and then in this particular case, and what I think is one of the main important things about an LLC is anonymity. And he lists Delaware, New Mexico, and Wyoming. I think Nevada also has some anonymity as well.
They do, actually.
Right. For basically legal protection, or let's say, you're a celebrity, but you don't want people suing you, saying, oh, it's so-and-so, so I can sue that person because I know they got money, so they file. There's many reasons to keep an anonymous LLC. So different states have different laws and rules regarding their LLCs. But in terms of taxation and setting up a business, my understanding is you don't have to live in that state. You simply register your LLC there, and the nexus is where you generate your income, predominantly determined about where you have your residence, your legal residence, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And So I think what you were asking earlier was why somebody who lives in one state would pick an LLC from another state, right? Is that sort of what you were asking?
Yes, that we could, yes, that'd be a good question.
All right. Some people do it for like this guy, anonymity. Some people just think it's easier to file in those states. They have lower LLC fees, less paperwork requirements, less annual reporting, things like that. It's just all about matter of preference. But I mean, what I'm about to share with you is that it's actually not all that better to do this because in the end, you have just as much paperwork and just as much fees because you have to report all this to the state that you do live in. So, yeah.
And that assumes the state has a state income tax, though.
No, man, because like even states that don't have state income tax, they still have franchise taxes on a corporate level. So that's actually what I was going to answer with this because he's got a few other questions. And most states, no matter where you're based as an LLC, you have to pay tax on a corporate level on at least some amount. So he's not going to be saving anything.
All right. Well, but he does, as opposed to applying or filing an LLC in Illinois, he will have anonymity in New Mexico, which is, I think, his main concern, correct?
Yeah. And what I was going to tell him, I mean, should we just, because this is within the wheelhouse of what we're talking about. I think we should just go through these questions because I'll answer it. Yeah. Because this is exactly what he's asking, really.
Okay. 2, other than flying to the state and setting up an LLC in person, are sites like InkFile, My Company Works, LegalZoom okay for setting up an LLC? If they are not, what are good alternatives?
He needs to find what's called a registered agent service. Do you know what that is?
I do. I actually have one.
You do? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Well, you think I'm some rookie kid fresh off the assembly line at the Carlson School of Management? I've been in the field for a while, my sir.
Well, it's not like I did your corporate and personal taxes only a few weeks ago.
Correct. So we'll go ahead and explain what a registered agent is so people understand.
Okay. Well, a registered agent, these are services. They're companies that have offices in the state that you might want to set up an LLC in, and they act as your what's called a proxy, meaning that's your address for the company. So all your mail that's for your LLC will go to that registered agent. You know, that's your presence in that state. So they take care of the location problem. If you like live in New Jersey and do business in New Jersey, but you have an LLC in Nevada or Wyoming or New Mexico, something like that. Right?
Right. And that also protects you. So if someone is trying to stalk you or hunt you down, or some ill will, or someone's trying to die, I'm just trying to think of nefarious people that want to do you ill will, legally or illegally. Anyone can look up and say, oh, Bob Bobson has an LLC, and you can look up on the Secretary of State website of whichever state you have filed in, where's Bob Bobson LLC, and it'll give you an address. And so exactly. And so if that address is actually your own house, now people know where you live and they can send the hit squad or the goons after you. But if it's a registered agent, usually it's a corporate office, a law office of some kind. They go there, they find out it's a registered agent, and you don't actually live there. And then if it's an anonymous LLC, they say, hey, where does Bob Bobson live? The lawyer says, oh, I'm sorry, sir, that's private information. You can't get that. So again, it's an added layer of protection.
Yes, and I actually have a plot twist when we get to the end of this, but yeah, okay. Let's go to,
Federal EINs, employment identification numbers, require the social security number of the responsible party. How anonymous, if any, is this information kept by the IRS? If it is not anonymous, how could I still get an employment identification number and remain anonymous?
It's 1,000% anonymous. You can't just call the IRS or find out what somebody's federal employment identification number is by Googling it or going online. He doesn't. You have to use your real name for your federal ID number, but nobody can find it. So that's really a non-issue.
Right. I mean, if it gets hacked, but anything can get hacked. But the IRS is not going to, start posting it and saying, hey, it's basically your social security number, and an employment identification number is basically the social security number of the corporate entity you form.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So they're going to protect that as much as they would a social security number.
Right.
All right. And then finally, 4, which state would you use?
So the answer I have for that is he should use the state that he actually lives in. Now, why am I saying that? What do you think, Larry?
Well, you said it was because of less paperwork. I'm
Yes.
kind of, I was thinking like I was going more the identity protection angle.
Okay. So it's like you said, you brought up Illinois, so I'll just use it because I do mostly those.
Okay.
If I set up an LLC in New Mexico, because you know who lives in New Mexico, so I might actually do something like that, right?
Okay.
What Illinois is going to do is say, hey, you don't actually conduct business there, do you? Because you have to report where you earn your money. And when I say Illinois, Illinois is going to go, hey, that's great. We want you to file a $300 or $400 foreign corporation fee in order for having a foreign LLC, as it's called. And it involves all kinds of other paperwork, et cetera, et cetera. And what this guy's big thing is, he wants to be anonymous. And what I'm saying is, if you want to be anonymous, you file with a registered agent in the state that you live in so you can avoid all that extra paperwork. Because he's going to have to do it no matter what, right? So he might as well just make his life easy and do it in the state that he lives in.
And then the registered agent fee is maybe $100 or $200 a year or something, like, depending on the state that you're in.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy. Like it's easy, and they handle a lot of stuff for you, so it's worth it.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, that's why we go to you as the expert.